Can you believe that in a world where most birds just fly south for the winter, Blue the macaw was perfectly content living inside a house with central heating and unlimited supply of bird seeds in Minnesota? Sounds pretty cozy, right? Well, apparently, not for Blue. He had no idea that his destiny wasn't to just hang out in a cage or stand on a perch all day.
Oh no.
His destiny was a whole lot bigger, more colorful, and a bit ridiculous if you ask me. This guy was just living his best life, going on a few trips to the local pet store, until one day, a bird rescue lady named Linda drops the bomb. Blue, you're the last male of your species, and I'm sending you to Rio to meet the only other macaw like you. Blue's reaction? What?
Yeah.
Imagine just minding your own business and someone tells you, hey, you're about to be the star of a wild adventure. Pack your beak and get ready to fly. First of all, who does that? Like, 1 minute you're watching TV on your comfy perch and the next thing you know, you're flying to Brazil, the land of samba, beaches, and carnival. Sounds like a vacation, right? Wrong. Blue has no idea how to fly. He's basically like a bird version of that guy who gets stuck in a rock climbing class because he didn't even know what a harness was. But, hold your laughter for a second, because Blue gets there, and his journey is nothing like he expected. Once Blue arrives in Rio, he realizes his whole life just got flipped upside down. Enter Jewel, a tough, independent female macaw who's like, you call yourself a bird? Pfft, you can't even fly. And Blue's just like, I just thought wings were for decoration. The two instantly clash, but what do you know, turns out they're supposed to be a perfect match, as in, literally the last two macaws of their kind. So, now it's up to Blue to learn how to actually be a bird and try to save the day, all while surviving in the crazy streets of Rio. Oh, and did I mention there's a gang of evil bird smugglers after them?
Yeah.
No big deal, just your everyday action movie setup. Let's take a moment and appreciate the real plot twist in this whole thing. Blue is so bad at flying that the first time he tries to escape, he ends up falling straight into a fountain and looking like the world's most awkward bird. Oh, and then there's that dramatic moment when Blue tries to make a grand escape, except the parrot lady, who's been trying to teach him to fly, yells, "You're never going to fly, you're going to fall." And Blue's like,
yeah,
I know, that's kind of the theme of my life right now. And then there's this whole sidekick situation. I mean, who wouldn't want to be friends with a bulldog named Luis, who can barely keep his eyes open, but somehow becomes Blue's most loyal sidekick? Seriously, the guy, or dog, I should say, is always sleepy, yet every time Blue finds himself in a mess, Luis is there, adding mildly unhelpful commentary, and, well, providing moral support, in a weird, nonchalant way. Oh, and let's not forget about the carnival. I don't know what Blue expected from a trip to Rio, but if I were him, I'd be like, I don't know if I signed up for this kind of party. Picture this, there's samba dancing, street food, fireworks, and Blue getting dragged through the parade while trying to save the day, probably wondering, how did my life turn into a musical? But hey, life is like that sometimes. 1 minute you're trying to avoid an evil smuggler, and the next you're getting a carnival float pushed down the street by a mob of excited dancers. Oh, and did I mention the villains? They're not just your regular bad guys. These guys are actual bird smugglers, who are so bad at being bad that it feels like they're more in the movie for comic relief. They try to capture Blue and Jewel, but they somehow manage to mess everything up time and time again, making you laugh so hard you almost forget they're supposed to be menacing. Like, they literally put a bird in a cage and expect it to sit still.
Yeah.
They clearly have never dealt with a bird like Blue before. Blue's final challenge comes when he finally faces his fear and decides to actually fly, well, sort of. In one of the most absurd yet heartwarming moments of the movie, Blue finally realizes that flying is not just about flapping your wings, it's about believing in yourself. He soars through Rio like a pro, navigating through the chaotic carnival, and finally embraces the whole bird life thing. Honestly, at this point, Blue's not just flying, he's living his best life. But it's not just about the laughs and the flying. Underneath all the silly antics and tropical colors, Rio is a story about embracing who you really are. Blue goes from being this unwilling, scared pet to becoming the fearless hero of his own story. Sure, there's a lot of over-the-top moments, but it's all about breaking free from your cage, even if that cage is self-imposed. So, what did Blue learn by the end of this wild ride? First, maybe don't just let strangers tell you to fly without a plan. Second, maybe don't rely on your sidekick bulldog for anything more than a nap. And lastly, Rio isn't just about flying, it's about figuring out who you are when you're forced to take a giant leap of faith. To sum it up, Rio is a crazy, colorful roller coaster that somehow makes you believe that if a clumsy bluebird can conquer the sky, then maybe we can all stop worrying so much about life and just take a flight into the unknown.